Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are opening up a file that I have to say has one of the most evocative, kind of mysterious titles we've ever covered.
Yeah.
It's simply, We Should Sing Psalms on a 10-string psaltery.
It sounds like a command from a very different time, doesn't it?
It really does.
Like a rule book for some ritual we've completely forgotten about.
Exactly. This deep dive is a detailed breakdown, and it's presented as an original work of Viola Studio. We're taking their analysis and, bringing it to life for you.
And the mission today is just fascinating because we're basically doing a cold case investigation into a genius. We're going back to the 12th century to look at a woman who was a nun, a mystic, a leader, and crucially for us, one of the most prolific composers of her whole era.
We're talking about Hildegard of Bingen.
We are.
This is one of those figures where if you're a music student or an instructor or just, obsessed with history, you've probably heard the name, you know the St. Hildegard headline. But today, we're going to break down exactly how she managed to become this powerhouse voice in a time that was, well, let's be honest, not exactly designed for women to have a platform.
Not exactly designed, is putting it very politely. It was a closed door. And what we're going to explore is how she picked the lock. She claimed direct access to the divine to basically bypass all the restrictions that were placed on her. It's a story of political strategy just as much as it is about music.
Welcome to Viola Studio. We are a YouTube channel dedicated to the technical, pedagogical, and artistic development of viola students and instrumentalists. In every episode, our goal is to provide a concise and entertaining analysis. We will explore key themes, the messages of the great masters, and the historical context that shaped the sound of our instrument. Whether you are taking your first steps in the alto clef, or you are a professional seeking a new perspective, there is something for everyone at Viola Studio.
Don't miss our upcoming episodes, and remember,
There's always time to explore the history and the heart of classical music.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Part 1, the context. We're in Germany, early Middle Ages. The Viola Studio analysis makes this really important point right out of the gate. We tend to think of medieval women as silent, but Hildegard wasn't the only woman writing music.
Right. It's important not to see her in a total vacuum. The source material points to a few others, just to give us some perspective. You have Jorunn Skaldmar around the year 920.
Skaldmar, that sounds Norse.
It is. She was a skald, a poet. Her work, I think it was Sendebiter, is the longest surviving verse by a woman from that tradition. But that's a different thing. That's Norwegian court poetry.
Okay, and then closer to Hildegard's time, around 1150, the notes mention Abbess Heloise.
Yes, of Abelard and Heloise fame. But she was a brilliant scholar in her own right. She might have composed the Easter music drama Ortolanus. And then a bit later, around 1180, you get the troubadour Beatrice Comtesse de Dia in France.
So there were these sparks of female creativity. But the analysis argues that Hildegard she's different. Why is that?
It's the scale. It's just the sheer volume of her work. Hildegard's musical output is the largest of any single identifiable medieval composer.
Period.
Period. Male or female.
That is a massive claim. We're not just talking about a surviving folk song here and there.
No, not at all. She produced this massive collection called the Symphonia, Armonie, Celestium, Revelationum.
Okay, let's unpack that. The Symphony of the Harmony of Celestial Revelation.
It's a heavy title, right? And this collection has over 70 liturgical songs. So she isn't a footnote in music history. She is a headline act. But to really understand the music, you have to understand the person, because her biography is, well, it's intense.
So let's get into that biography, part 2. From visions to leadership.
Okay, so she was born in 1098, youngest child in a big family, lesser nobility. Now, there's a detail here that often gets glossed over but is so important. She was the 10th child.
The 10th. Why does that matter?
Well, in that era, there was a custom of tithing your children. So you give the 10th portion of your wealth to the church.
Right.
In this case, the 10th child was the tithe. She was literally given to the church as an offering.
Wow. I mean, talk about being born into a destiny you didn't choose.
Exactly. And on top of that, the records all say she was a sickly child. But she had something else going on. The visions.
This is the part that always makes into the movies.
For good reason. Even before she was 5, she was showing what the texts call spiritual acuity. There's this famous story, the analysis mentions it, where she got her family's attention by correctly predicting the color of an unborn calf.
Yes, that is so specific. It's not like something bad might happen. It's that calf is white with brown spots.
Exactly. It told her family she was different. She had the sight. So at around age 8, which is just incredibly young, she was placed in the care of Jutta of Sponheim.
And Jutta was a visionary too, right?
She was. Jutta lived as a recluse in a hermitage near this abbey. And when we say hermitage, don't think of a cozy cabin. This was an anchor hold. These were often cells attached to a church, and the door was sometimes literally walled up.
So Hildegard grows up in this very enclosed, super intense spiritual environment, basically locked away.
But she doesn't stay in the background. She becomes a Benedictine nun at 14. Then Jutta dies in 1136. Hildegard's 38 at this point. And here's the pivot. She is elected to lead the whole community.
And she doesn't just, keep things as they were.
Not at all. She breaks out. She moves the community. She founds her own convents. And she starts producing work at this incredible rate. I mean, 3 volumes of visionary theology, scientific works. She wrote about medicine right up until her death in 1179.
I want to pause on that medicine and science thing for a second, because usually when we talk about mystics, you think of them as having their heads in the clouds. But she was writing about plants, biology.
She was a polymath, absolutely. She wrote about the circulatory system, the properties of herbs. She was grounding her theology in the real physical world. And this leads us right into the most strategic part of her story, which the Viola studio analysis calls the strategic claim.
Okay, part 3. Education versus inspiration. This is the Hildegard paradox.
It is, because on one hand, we know for a fact she was educated.
Oh, absolutely. Under Jutta and with this monk named Volmar, she learned the entire chant repertory. She studied how to play the psaltery, that instrument from our title, and she learned to write Latin. So she's highly educated. She knows the structure of language, of music, but she claims she wasn't.
Right. This is the core of it. Hildegard professed to be divinely inspired. She said explicitly that she had never learned neumes or any other part of music.
Okay, for anyone listening who isn't a music major, let's define neumes.
Sure. Before we had our modern musical staff, the 5 lines and round notes, music was written with neumes. They were like little squiggles and marks placed above the text to show go up here or go down here.
It was the technical language of music.
The technical language. So by saying, I never learned neumes, she's saying, I don't know music theory.
Got it.
She claimed it was all a direct download from heaven. There's a quote from her. Heaven was opened and a fiery light permeated my whole brain. And immediately I knew the meaning of the exposition of the scriptures.
Permeated my whole brain. That is vivid. But why? Why make that claim? Why pretend to be unlearned when you clearly know what you're doing?
Because taking the credit would have been, it would have been career suicide. The analysis highlights this so well. In the 12th century, knowledge was gendered.
How do you mean?
You had 2 main branches of education. The trivium, that's rhetoric, grammar, logic, and then the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, astronomy, and music theory. These were the domains of men, the tools of authority.
So if a woman stands up and says, hey, I understand the mathematics of music and the rhetoric of scripture.
She's usurping male authority. She's a threat to the church hierarchy. If she said, I figured this out because I'm smart and I studied, she would have been shut down, silenced. But if she says, I am a poor, uneducated woman. I know nothing. I'm just a vessel. God is speaking through me.
Who can argue with God?
Exactly.
That is brilliant. It's a survival mechanism. She used their own theology to get around their gatekeepers.
It's a Trojan horse strategy, and we actually have visual evidence of this. There's this image from a 13th century manuscript that shows this exact moment.
Describe it for us. What does it look like?
You see Hildegard sitting, holding a wax tablet. And then you see these red tongues of flame, the divine inspiration coming down from the ceiling right onto her head. And she's dictating to Volmar, her scribe, who's writing it all down. And her confidant, Richard von Stade, is there too, just witnessing it.
So the image reinforces the official story. She receives Volmar records.
Precisely. It validates her authority without ever challenging the patriarchal structure. It's don't look at me, look at the fire on my head.
So, secure in that authority, she creates her magnum opus, Ordo Virtutum.
Yes, Ordo Virtutum, the play of the virtues. This is from around 1151.
Why is this work such a huge deal in music history? I mean, there's a lot of old music out there.
Well, for one, it's the earliest morality play that we still have, and it's one of the very first musical dramas ever recorded. I mean, if you think about opera or even modern musical theater, this is like a great-great-grandmother of the form, and it's got over 80 melodies.
But it wasn't just for reading, right? This was meant to be seen.
Oh, it was a performance piece. It was almost certainly performed by the nuns of her own order. We have these descriptions that the nuns would dress up as the virtues in white silk, gold crowns, jewelry.
That's rebellious in itself, isn't it? Nuns are supposed to wear plain habits.
Extremely rebellious. But Hildegard's logic was that for this play, they were representing the citizens of heaven, so they should look the part.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the plot. It's a battle for a soul.
Yep. The central character is Anima, the soul. And there's this struggle for the soul between 17 virtues and the devil, Diabolus.
17 virtues. That's a big cast.
It is. You've got humility as the queen of the virtues. You've got faith, hope, charity. It's a full roster.
And then there's the devil. And this is where the musical analysis gets really interesting. Usually the villain gets the best song, right? The most dramatic music. How does the devil sound in this play?
He doesn't sing.
What, he doesn't sing at all?
Not a single note. The devil only speaks or shouts. He just makes noise.
So in a musical drama, the main villain has no music.
Piazza?
A really bold choice.
It's a profound theological statement made with sound. For Hildegard, music was divine harmony. It's connected to heaven. The devil, by definition, is severed from the divine. Therefore, he lacks harmony. He cannot produce music. He can only create discord.
That is so cool. I mean, what a distinct storytelling choice.
It is, and practically, the role was probably spoken by Volmar, the male scribe. So you'd have this convent of nuns singing these beautiful, soaring melodies, and then this one male voice just shouting and grunting. The contrast must have been incredible.
I can only imagine. It kind of frames the male voice, which was usually the voice of authority, as the source of all the discord. That's subtle but sharp.
Very sharp.
Okay, let's dig into the actual music, the sound of the virtues. For the music students listening, what are we hearing? Is it just standard Gregorian chant?
It's rooted in chant, but it's Hildegardian. It breaks
Yeah.
the rules.
Yeah.
Standard chant at the time was usually pretty contained. The melody moves by steps, up a little, down a little, very modest.
And Hildegard's music.
It's expansive. She uses huge ranges. A melody might span over 2 octaves. She uses these big dramatic leaps from a low note to a really high note to emphasize a word.
The analysis calls this florid.
Yeah, it's ornamental, lots of notes for a single syllable. It's called melisma, and she uses word painting. So as the virtues get more animated, the music gets more expressive to reflect that.
The source mentions humility and hope specifically.
Right. Their vocal lines are described as sweeping. The idea is that their singing inspires the other virtues to respond with passion. It's a call and response of emotion. She isn't just reciting text, she's trying to make you feel what's at stake.
Now, a quick technical note. If you go on a streaming service right now and look for Ordo Virtutum, you might hear instruments, fiddles, flutes.
You might, but we have to be really careful here. The analysis points out that the original notation is, well, it's little more than the barest of bones.
So it's just a melody line.
Just the melody. No rhythm is indicated, no tempo, and definitely no instruments. So when you hear a modern recording with all that accompaniment, that is a modern interpretation. It's a guess.
So the original performance was likely just voices, a cappella.
Almost certainly. Just the pure sound of the nuns' voices in the stone halls of the convent. And if you think about the acoustics of a medieval church, that natural reverb would have provided its own kind of harmony.
Which brings us to the philosophy behind all this.
Yeah.
Why was music so central for her? It wasn't just entertainment.
No, it was theological, deeply. Hildegard believed that music connected humanity to a lost Eden.
A bridge back to perfection.
That's it, exactly. She believed that before the fall, before Adam and Eve ate the fruit, Adam had a voice of pure brightness. He was in perfect harmony with God. When the fall happened, we lost that voice. We lost that harmony.
So when we sing,
when we sing sacred music, we are, for a moment, recapturing that state of Eden. We're tuning ourselves back into the frequency of the divine.
that's a beautiful idea. It makes singing almost like time travel for the soul.
It does, and this belief shaped how she wrote. Unlike some other composers where the music just serves the text, the words are the main thing, Hildegard sort of saw the text as being at the service of the music.
And the music comes first.
The music is the vehicle. It opens the soul so the lesson can enter.
And this seer status, this connection to Eden, it gave her a lot of real-world power, didn't it?
It did. Her status as a mystic let her offer very stern advice to very powerful men. She wrote letters to the Pope.
Telling him what to do.
Essentially, yes, or at least chastising him. She engaged in politics. She went on preaching tours, which was totally unheard of for a woman. She wasn't following the rule book because she claimed to be reading from a divine rule book no one else could see.
It's just incredible when you step back. We're talking about a woman who was supposed to be invisible.
Right. A sickly 10th child locked in a cell.
And instead she becomes this powerhouse leader, a scientist, and a composer who completely changed the musical landscape.
She outsmarted the whole patriarchal system by claiming her genius was divine inspiration. She protected herself with the shield of prophecy, and by doing that, she left us the largest single musical output of her time.
That title, "We Should Sing Psalms on a 10-String Psaltery." It starts to make a lot more sense now.
It does. The psaltery isn't just an instrument. For her, the 10 strings represented the 10 commandments, or the 5 senses of the body and the 5 senses of the spirit. It's about that total harmony she was trying to restore. She was trying to tune the human instrument back to the key of Eden.
And this whole detailed breakdown, again, was brought to you by the analysis from Viola Studio. And we really want to thank them for this structure because it helps you see the strategic brilliance behind the beauty. It's not just pretty chance.
Not at all. It's survival. It's easy to just listen and think it's relaxing, but when you understand the risk involved in writing them, they sound completely different.
They sound brave.
They do.
So here's a provocative question for you to mull over. We talked about her strategy claiming ignorance to get her work heard, the Trojan horse.
Right.
If Hildegard had admitted she was educated, if she had said, "I learned this and I wrote this because I'm a musical genius," would we even know her name today?
And that's the chilling part, isn't it? She likely would have been silenced, called a heretic, or just dismissed as an arrogant woman.
So how much genius was lost to history because other women didn't have that visionary cover story?
Yeah.
How many symphonies did we never get to hear because the composer couldn't claim they came from God?
It's a heavy thought. But at least we have Hildegard.
We do. And we want to invite all of you, students, teachers, and just general lovers of knowledge, to keep tuning in. We're going to be covering more of these deep dives from the Viola Studio files in the future.
There is always more to uncover.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you the next deep dive.
Thank you for joining us, and we hope this summary and analysis have been of great help to you. Please remember that this is only a summary and can never replace the book itself. Therefore, we invite you to truly immerse yourself in the work by reading the original text. If this content was useful to you, please consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the notification bell. Remember, you can share this video with your friends to help our community continue to grow. Warmest regards, and remember, there is always time to learn and explore the world of classical music. A Viola Studio production.